She got stopped at the entrance of the Monterey Automotive Showcase because of her worn leather jacket and faded jeans that looked like they'd seen 1,000 garage floors. VIP sections don't admit the lost and confused, the receptionist said, eyes scanning her like yesterday's newspaper. One spoiled heir sneered. Are they letting in the janitorial staff now? Morgan said nothing. She just pulled out her special VIP pass and walked forward through the laughter, through the mockery, until her custom Bugatti shut them all the hell up. Monterey Automotive Showcase was a cathedral of luxury, its glass and chrome facade gleaming under the California sun like polished titanium. Inside, the air was sharp with leather and privilege, every display a showcase for the ultra-wealthy, racing magnates, and automotive dynasties. Black marble floors reflected crystal chandeliers, and digital displays glowed with names that carried power, children of tech moguls, Olympians, industry titans. Membership here wasn't just a fee, it was a bloodline, costing more than most people's homes. The walls were adorned with framed photographs of world champions, their eyes as cold as their engines. Outside, a velvet rope separated the elite from the ordinary, and today Morgan Reynolds stood on the wrong side. Her worn leather jacket and scuffed boots were a blasphemy against the tailored designer outfits streaming past. At 28, Morgan was a quiet force, her beauty raw and unadorned. Her auburn hair was pulled into a loose braid, strands glinting like copper in the sunlight. Her blue eyes, sharp and unflinching, held a depth that could stop conversations. She carried herself with a mechanic's confidence, her hands bearing the subtle scars of someone who built things that lasted. Her father, Jack Reynolds, had been a legendary car designer, a visionary who'd transformed the industry with revolutionary concepts, and he'd raised her in workshops, teaching her to feel the soul in every engine. After his death, Morgan had promised to honor his legacy, but the crowd saw only a nobody with a thrift store aesthetic, her presence an insult to their exclusivity. The receptionist, a man named Derek with a perfect smile and a sneer like a knife, blocked Morgan's path at the entrance. This isn't a showcase for ordinary people, he said, his voice dripping contempt, loud enough to turn heads. VIP sections are for members, not whatever you are. He gestured at her jacket, his eyes raking her faded jeans. A young heir in a 5-0 suite, Connor Blake, son of a hedge fund king, leaned against a pillar, smirking. They letting in the janitorial staff now? He called, sparking laughter from the group behind him. Morgan's fingers brushed her VIP pass, a worn card from her father's old partner, earned through innovation and vision. She held it out, her voice steady. I'm a guest. Derek's smirk faltered as the scanner beeped green, but he stepped aside, muttering, "This must be a mistake." The crowd parted, their laughter a gauntlet as Morgan walked inside. As Morgan walked through the main hall, the showcase's live stream turned into a digital gallows. Phones glowed, attendees posting in real time, their captions a public execution. "Look at those boots." One read, zooming in on her scuffed leather, "She's a joke." Another posted, shared by an executive's daughter. Vanessa Cole stood, her voice loud enough for the live stream to catch. "Look at her thinking she belongs with us," she mocked, gesturing at Morgan's jacket. "This is Monterey, not a junkyard." The crowd roared, their laughter a weapon, comments flooding, "Kick her out." "Fraud," a college kid shouted. "Bet she stole that pass from the trash." Morgan's hands stayed steady, her blue eyes fixed forward, but her mother's face on the live stream, pale and hospital-bound, showed the weight of each word. The audience's rage surged, their fury at this coordinated cruelty a fire ready to burst. The showcase's interior was a monument to excess, its displays stretching under a soaring ceiling. Digital screens tracked every vehicle's specs, and the low hum of conversation mixed with the purr of occasionally started engines. Members lounged in leather chairs, sipping rare wines, their cars gleaming with custom finishes. Morgan's jacket drew stares like a crack in a mirror. A trust fund kid, Tyler Reed, sprawled in a chair, his limited edition Porsche keys dangling from his finger. "Even maintenance gets access now." "Huh?" he snorted, his voice carrying across the lounge. His clique, A pack of prep school graduates laughed, their eyes slicing Morgan's jeans. What's she going to do? Wax the displays? One quipped, tossing a business card at her feet. Morgan stepped over it, her face serene, her silence a shield against their venom. The showcase director, Richard Hayes, stepped forward from the staff, his tailored Italian suit a stark contrast to Morgan's faded jacket. This is highly irregular, he said, his voice dripping with false concern, loud enough for the lounge to hear. Monterey is for automotive connoisseurs, not casual enthusiasts with questionable taste. He gestured at Morgan's whole appearance, his gold cufflinks glinting. Your presence here undermines our standards. Perhaps a community car show would suit you better. The crowd murmured approval, some nodding, their elitism a wall around Morgan. Leave now and we'll forget this embarrassment, Hayes added, his words a deliberate cut. Morgan's braids swayed as she adjusted her stance, her blue eyes flickering with buried resolve, but her face remained serene. Her mother's hands clenched on the live stream, the director's condescension a betrayal of Morgan's right to be there. The audience's anger boiled, their outrage at this authority-driven attack a burning wound in the VIP section. Vanessa Cole, a model with automotive magazine covers and 1 million social media followers, adjusted her designer sunglasses, her blonde hair cascading in perfect waves. She glanced at Morgan, her lip curling. This is a showcase for excellence, not some low-budget Motorhead cosplay, she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass, amplified by the live stream mic overhead. The showcase's social media feed buzzed, comments flooding. Who is this loser? Get her out. The head judge, William Pierce, a grizzled ex-racing champion with international fame, stood nearby, his irritation plain. Are you sure you even know which end of a car is the front? He barked, his tone dripping with disdain. Morgan met his gaze, her blue eyes unwavering. I'll figure it out, she said softly, her words a quiet vow. The crowd snickered, their phones out, poised for her failure. The billionaire heir Ethan Caldwell was the showcase's golden boy, a 30-year-old with dark hair, a defined jawline, and eyes that could charm or intimidate. His black designer clothes were impeccably tailored, and his custom Lamborghini Centenario, a $5 million work of art, gleamed like a predator. He just unveiled it to thunderous applause, his scores flashing on the digital board to roars of approval. He turned, spotting Morgan, and his grin was a weapon. If your car impresses more than mine, I'll withdraw immediately, he said, his voice smooth and mocking, loud enough for the live stream. But when I win, you're gone. Pretender. The crowd erupted, their laughter a tidal wave. Ethan leaned closer, his breath warm, no pressure. Sweetheart. Morgan didn't flinch. She nodded once, her silence louder than their jeers. The live stream audience seethed, their hearts with Morgan, urging her to shatter their arrogance. The mockery didn't let up as Morgan walked toward the private garage area. Connor Blake sauntered over, his suit screaming wealth. That car's probably a Civic with a body kit, he sneered, his voice carrying to the live stream. Bet it falls apart when you start it. He flicked his business card at her feet, grinning. Call me when you need a real car. Maintenance girl. The crowd laughed, their phones recording, captions forming, showcase trash. Vanessa adjusted her sunglasses, her voice cutting. You're embarrassing yourself. Hun. Go home before you embarrass your family too. Judge Pierce stepped closer, his clipboard raised like a gavel. This is an elite venue, he said, his tone patronizing. We don't have time for amateurs with delusions. Morgan's hands moved to her pocket, retrieving the garage remote, her face a mask of calm, her mother's face, watching the live stream from a hospital bed, crumpled, each insult a wound to her daughter's pride. The showcase's social media feed was a battlefield. Posts piling on. Hey, budget mechanic. One read with a close-up of Morgan's worn boots. She's a fake, another commented, shared by an automotive blogger. In the lounge, Tyler Reed stood, his voice booming. Why is she even here? This is our showcase, not a public garage tour. The crowd cheered, their elitism a fortress around Morgan. A girl in a designer dress, Mia Holton tossed a showcase brochure at Morgan's feet, calling. "Read this. Maybe you'll learn something." Janitor. The paper skidded across the floor, grazing her boots, but Morgan didn't pause. Her braid swayed as she pressed the remote. Her blue eyes locked on the private garage door 50 feet away. The audience's rage burned, their fury at the mob's cruelty, a fire ready to explode. The insults grew sharper as Morgan approached the garage. A retired racing legend, now a showcase consultant, leaned toward Judge Pierce, his voice loud enough for the live stream. "This is what happens when you let nobodies in," he muttered, gesturing at Morgan. "No class, no credentials." The crowd murmured agreement, their phones flashing, capturing Morgan's stillness. Vanessa stood, her sunglasses glinting, and called out, "You're a walking embarrassment. Girl, leave before you make us all look bad." Connor Blake added, "Bet she doesn't even own a car. Probably borrowed her boyfriend's." The laughter swelled. A vicious chorus, each word a stone hurled at Morgan's dignity. Her fingers pressed the garage door opener, a faint tremor the only sign of tension, but her face remained serene. Her silence a wall against their scorn. Ethan stood by his Lamborghini, its engine purring, his movement smooth, his car an extension of his wealth. The digital board flashed its specs. Top speed 236 mph, 60 and 2. 8 seconds. Custom interior. Carbon fiber everything. The crowd roared, clapping, their smirks aimed at Morgan. "Good luck." "Thrift store?" Ethan called, his grin cocky, his eyes daring her to crumble. The livestream comments surged. "She's toast? No way she tops that." The garage door opened slowly, revealing darkness within. Morgan stepped inside, disappearing for a moment. The crowd hushed, their phones raised, ready for her humiliation. She emerged, driving slowly, her car still hidden in shadow. The audience held their breath, their anger at her treatment a pulse in their veins. Then headlights illuminated custom wheels emerging first. Sleek, impossibly perfect. The crowd froze as a Bugatti, unlike any they'd seen before, rolled into the light, its lines both classic and revolutionary, its color a deep midnight blue that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Murmurs rippled. "Factory custom?" Tyler scoffed, crossing his arms. Morgan didn't blink as she parked the car perfectly centered under the showcase lights. The engine's purr silky and powerful. Vanessa's sunglasses slipped, her smirk fading as Morgan stepped out and opened the hood, revealing an engine architecture no one recognized. The showcase's announcement system played a rare chime for exceptional entries. The crowd froze, their laughter dying. "Rental car," Connor muttered, but his voice cracked. Morgan's face remained calm, her blue eyes watching as Judge Pierce approached the car, his clipboard trembling in his hands. "This is," he started, then stopped, reading the specifications sheet Morgan had placed on the windshield. "Impossible," he whispered, but the microphone caught it, broadcasting his shock. The director's headset clattered to the floor, dropped in surprise. "Hybrid powertrain, 1,800 horsepower, carbon-negative fuel system," Pierce read, his voice growing stronger with disbelief. "Custom-built chassis, proprietary lightweight alloys." The range was a graveyard, every eye on Morgan, her worn jacket suddenly irrelevant under the lights. Ethan's grin was gone, his jaw tight, his eyes widening. The live stream exploded. "Who is this woman? This is insane." Morgan's braids swayed as she stepped forward, her movements precise, almost reverent. As she began explaining the car's features, her voice soft but clear. "The body is hand-formed using techniques my father pioneered," she said. "The engine architecture combines electric power with a revolutionary combustion system that produces zero emissions." The audience's anger turned to awe, their faith in her growing with each specification. Judge Pierce circled the car, his expertise recognizing genius. "The interior," he said, his voice emotional. "It's Jack Reynolds' signature stitching pattern." Morgan nodded. "He was my father," she said simply. The crowd was silent, their phones lowered, recording in reverence, not mockery. "Hand-built over 5 years," Morgan continued. using sustainable materials and manufacturing techniques that produce no waste. Judge Pierce examined the engine compartment, his hands shaking. The Reynolds counterflow system, he whispered. We thought it was just theoretical. Morgan shook her head. My father completed the design before he died. I built it for him. The crowd parted as Richard Hayes approached, his face pale. Ms. Reynolds, he said, the words strangled. Why didn't you say who you were? Morgan's eyes met his, cool and steady. You didn't ask. You were too busy judging my jacket. The board flashed as testing equipment confirmed the car's specifications. Verified claims, it announced in glowing letters. The melody played one final time, triumphant, as the system declared, showcase record, most innovative entry. Morgan stood by her creation, her breath steady, her blue eyes sweeping the room. The audience roared, their hearts soaring, her triumph a blaze that burned away their scorn. She turned, calm, dead steady, and spoke, her voice soft but piercing. My father taught me to build engines when I was 8, she said, her words cutting through the silence like a blade. He showed me how to see the soul in a machine while you were still practicing your signatures on Daddy's checks. The crowd parted, their heads bowed, their earlier cruelty a weight they couldn't shake. Judge Pierce, the racing legend, rose from his examination, his eyes shining with respect. He began to clap, slow and deliberate, the sound echoing in the stillness. One by one, others joined, the applause swelling, a tide of reckoning. Ethan stood frozen, his mouth twitching, his heart stumbling as he saw her smile, just a flicker, but enough to unravel him. Ethan Caldwell stood rooted, his once cocky grin replaced by a flush of shame as Morgan's revolutionary Bugatti outshone everything in the room. Her smile, faint but radiant, caught him like a spark, his heart tripping over itself. I was an idiot, he said, his voice cracking, loud enough for the live stream to catch. You're not just better. You're the future. The crowd's silence was heavy, their earlier jeers now a collective wound. Ethan's eyes, once sharp with arrogance, softened, tracing Morgan's calm poise, her worn jacket now a badge of honor. The livestream comments shifted. She destroyed them all. She's a legend. Judge Pierce nodded, his voice booming. Mr. Caldwell, your car is no longer the standard. Step aside. Ethan's shoulders slumped, but his gaze lingered on Morgan, her smile a quiet fire that lit something new in him. The audience cheered, their hearts soaring as Ethan's fall and Morgan's rise intertwined, her triumph a blade that cut through his pride. Ethan's face burned, his Lamborghini now seeming garish compared to Morgan's creation. He'd mocked her, challenged her, and lost in front of everyone. The live stream captured his pale shock, comments flooding. She ended his whole career. Morgan legend. He stepped forward, his voice low, almost reverent. I was wrong, he said, his eyes searching hers. You're incredible. Morgan nodded, her smile faint but warm, a spark that caught him off guard. The crowd watched, their silence a canvas for her victory. Judge Pierce approached, his voice gruff but proud. That's the finest engineering I've seen in 30 years, he said. Your father's legacy lives in you. Morgan's eyes softened, her promise kept, her mission complete. The showcase director, Richard Hayes, stepped forward, his silver hair catching the LED lights, his voice resonant across the hall. Morgan Reynolds has redefined excellence, he declared, his words broadcast to the live stream. Her Bugatti is now the benchmark for Monterey. He turned to the staff, his gaze stern. Those who mocked her, Derek, Vanessa, face suspension from future events. Standards here are about innovation, not appearance. The crowd gasped, the guilty shrinking, their arrogance crumbling. Hayes raised a hand, unveiling a digital plaque on the screen. Morgan Reynolds, Innovation Award. Morgan stood tall, her smile a quiet glow catching Ethan's eye again, his heart racing at her grace. The live stream audience roared, their applause echoing online. Morgan Reynolds trending as a symbol of true excellence. The audience's hearts swelled, Morgan's victory a permanent mark on the showcase's legacy. The showcase's hierarchy crumbled in that moment. Connor Blake slunk to the lounge. His expensive suit no shield against the whispers. She owned him. Vanessa packed her designer bag, her social media suddenly irrelevant, her arrogance a memory. Tyler's boasts died in his throat. His Porsche keys tucked away, his clique avoiding his gaze. The live stream trended globally. Hashtag Morgan Bugatti flooding social media. Her revolutionary car a legend in the making. The racing legend who'd mocked her credentials stood, his face red, and muttered an apology. His words lost in the applause. Mia Holton, the brochure tosser, slipped out, her designer dress no armor against the shame. The showcase elite were humbled, their exclusivity shattered by a woman with worn boots and genius hands. Ethan lingered, his cockiness replaced by curiosity, then awe. He approached Morgan later as the crowd thinned, his voice soft. "Can we talk? I owe you more than an apology." Morgan's smile grew, her blue eyes meeting his, and she nodded. A new chapter dawning. As the applause faded, Ethan approached Morgan, his usual swagger gone, replaced by a quiet intensity. "I don't deserve your time," he said, his voice low, his eyes locked on her smile, that faint radiant curve that had undone him. "But I'd be a fool not to try. You're not just a builder, you're a visionary." The crowd watched, their silence a canvas for his vulnerability, the live stream capturing every word. He's completely smitten. Morgan's blue eyes met his, her smile deepening, a spark that lit his world. "Coffee's a start," she said, her voice soft but warm, a bridge between them. The showcase staff paused, their respect for Morgan now absolute, her car a new standard. Ethan's heart raced, her smile the moment he'd fallen, the beginning of something extraordinary. The audience's hearts soared, their satisfaction complete as Morgan's triumph sparked something deeper, her victory a legend sealed in a revolutionary machine. The showcase staff updated the main display, Morgan's name now etched at the top, a permanent rebuke to their scorn. The crowd, once a wall of mockery, now stood in awe, their phones lowered, their earlier cruelty a bitter memory. A young engineering student, previously silent, stepped forward, her voice trembling. "I was wrong to doubt you," she said, her eyes on Morgan. "You're what this showcase should celebrate." Others nodded, their applause swelling, a tide of respect that drowned their past insults. Morgan's smile, soft but piercing, caught Ethan's gaze again, his heart lurching as he saw her strength in its quiet glow. The live stream captured the shift. Comments flooding. "She changed everything." "Morgan inspires." Even the racing legend who'd mocked her credentials clapped, his face red with shame, his earlier words now dust. Morgan stood serene, her worn jacket a symbol of authentic expertise, her triumph reshaping the showcase's soul. The audience's hearts thundered, their anger transformed into pride, Morgan's genius a beacon for all who'd been overlooked. The livestream audience chanted her name, their anger transformed into triumph, her innovation a landmark for the authentic. Morgan became design director for Monterey, creating new standards for entry based on innovation, not status. Ethan, once prince of privilege, learned to see beyond appearances, strength earned, not bought. They partnered on revolutionary vehicles. His resources? Her vision, a powerful combination. The showcase's plaque now reading, "Morgan Reynolds Visionary." The Monterey Automotive Showcase was no longer just for the elite. It was for true innovation, reshaped by a woman in a worn jacket who'd silenced them all with a revolutionary Bugatti. Morgan Reynolds didn't need their approval. She was the engine that changed the industry,